The disturbing truth about Thanksgiving that you never learned in history class. It's 1621, the year of the very first Thanksgiving festival. The Pilgrim Fathers have gathered to celebrate the first harvest in their newly settled lands of Plymouth Colony, in what's now Massachusetts. In a magnanimous gesture, these settlers invite their Native American brethren to feast on turkey, pie, and sweet potato. Sounds familiar? Shockingly, much of the tale is actually fake history. Let's start with the famous Tisquantum, also known as Squanto, the English-speaking Patuxet Indian who was at the feast. It's true he was there, and it's also true that his language skills made him an important bridge between the English newcomers and the original inhabitants of Plymouth Colony. It's less well known that Squanto spoke English because he'd been enslaved and that he lived in England before returning to his native land in 1619. Then there was another Native American, Massasoit, a chief of the Wampanoag people. He was one of those at the first Thanksgiving celebration, arriving with a band of 90 men. These Wampanoag were armed warriors, so the Pilgrims decided a display of force was a wise idea. They fired their guns into the air just to demonstrate that they could fight if needed. So it wasn't all smiles and pleasantries at the party. And then there was the menu for the first Thanksgiving feast. It's true that there were plenty of wild turkeys around the Plymouth Colony, but there are no mentions in contemporary accounts of roast turkey being served. And the settlers had no flour or butter, so they couldn't have baked pies. What's more, sweet potatoes were unknown in these parts back then. The Wampanoag apparently showed up with 5 deer, so perhaps we should really be eating venison at Thanksgiving. In fact, it turns out that much of what we think we know about that first Thanksgiving feast is a product of the 19th century. It wasn't until 1863 that Abraham Lincoln declared the first official Thanksgiving Day, and that was to celebrate Unionist Civil War victories. Plus, some historians say that the very first Thanksgiving was in 1637 to mark the settlers' victory over the Pequot Native Americans, in which case it's not quite the festival of peace and harmony of popular belief.